Hello, and today's deck is Rezzard, the Undead Lord. As you can see, as per normal with the starter decks, you get a playmat, the reference rules and the quick start rules, as well as your deck with your ruler, J-ruler in a non-foil edition. Well, before we have a look at the cards, as you can see, the contents is Rezzard, 4 of most of the cards, as is normal with this deck, but rather interestingly, not too many 3s and 2s, so a pretty good play set. So that is slightly different from the rest of the decks I've looked at so far. So anyway, without further delay, let's look at the cards. As you can see here, Rezzard costs 2 to flip and has a nice ability to pop things in your graveyard. Well, that doesn't seem like a good idea, but maybe the J-ruler has something to say about that. As you can see here on the J-ruler side, you've got an imperishable J-ruler, so that's the first time I think we've seen that in the decks. And when it enters the field, you may put 2 cards from your hand into your standby area, and this gains +200/+200 for each card in that area. And then for a cost of 6 overall, you can remove any number of resonators from your graveyard from the game. For each card you removed, each player must banish a resonator and discard a card. So that could be a little bit unpleasant, although when it says each player, that would indicate yourself as well. So far I'm not sure I like this deck. It obviously has some very good uses, as Rezzard I think is a quite well liked J-ruler. So let's have a look and see what else the deck brings. Okay, well, you get 4 of these. The Dark Purge. It's an instant, and it basically gives a debuff to a target resonator or J-ruler of -600/-600 for an overall cost of 2. That looks like a pretty good kill card, and I guess if you get really desperate you might even have to use 2 of them against 1 card. So obviously vulnerable to counters and boosting, but hey, maybe that's all it takes to win the game. Another card in the instant category, overall cost of 3, and destroy target resonator, and then all resonators -200/-200. Much more powerful card, I prefer this. Of course the downside is this 3 cost. Okay, this card is a field edition, a nice cheap card at 2, and banish this card to put the top 5 cards of your main deck into your graveyard. However, until you banish it, it gives you a nice +200 on your attack and defense. So another card putting stuff in your graveyard, so there must be something in this deck that makes that a good idea. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, this 4 cost resonator is a queen, and she's got a nice stealth ability, and if Rezzard is your lord, and you have 10 or more cards in your graveyard, you can basically use that. So that's pretty good. As it says here, you may play it without paying its cost. So you can pay 2 to put this in your standby area. As long as you've got 10 cards in your graveyard, out Persephone will pop. She's a 700 attack and defense. And when this enters the field from your chance standby area, put target resonator with a total cost of 4 or less from your graveyard into your field. So here's one of the reasons you're wanting to dump stuff into your graveyard. It makes her cheap to play, plus she can fetch stuff from your graveyard out into the field. And it can be a bit of a, surprise, I'm back. So yeah, I'm liking this card, and I think for a 4 cost it's not that bad a card, but it's not brilliant. It's this stealth ability that makes it worthwhile. Okay, so we've got some minions here, zombies. When this card enters your field, put the top 2 cards of your main deck into your graveyard. Costs just the 1 and has an attack and defense of 300. So not a bad little card, but obviously without decent graveyard manipulation, maybe not worth it. But yeah, I can see with this deck the way it's going, yeah, that's probably a good addition. Okay, so we've got another zombie here, cost of 2, 600/-500, so far so good. However, the downside, when the card enters your field, put the top 2 cards of your main deck into your graveyard. So a lot of cards that when they enter play are going to be putting cards from your deck into your graveyard. So you've got to watch out with this deck that you don't deck yourself by the looks of it. And so far I'm not seeing enough to really want stuff in your graveyard. So Persephone is going to help a little bit with having stuff in your graveyard, but not seeing anything so far that's really making this kind of warm itself to me. This is not a deck I'm enjoying so far. Okay, the Underground Dragger, total cost of 3, nice decent 700 attack and defense. It's another zombie, but this does have stealth, so if you control a Darkness Magic Stone and a Resonator was put into your graveyard from your field this turn, then you can play it, so only cost you 2. When this card enters your field from a chance standby area, destroy a target Resonator your opponent controls that dealt damage this turn. So basically, chump block with your little weenie zombie, it goes to the graveyard, this pops out and destroys that particular attacker. This card is good, I like this card a lot. Best card in my deck so far that I've seen. Persephone, yeah, she seems decent, but yeah, this card rescues this deck a bit, but I'm still not feeling it. Maybe this next card will help. Okay, so here we've got Death Scythe, a 0 cost Regalia. If your opponent J-Ruler loses... Oh, this is nice. Your opponent J-Ruler loses and cannot gain Imperishable and Swiftness. That's a really nice ability. You can rest this card and your J-Ruler gains plus 200 till the end of the turn, as long as it's Rezzard, the vampire version. It gains whenever a Resonator that was dealt damage by this card this turn is put into the graveyard, put it into your field. So basically you can use this to boost your J-Ruler, you can use it to strip Imperishable and Swiftness from your opponent's J-Ruler, and when you actually kill a Resonator you can steal it with this card, as long as you've got Rezzard. I like this card, it's very nice. Notice here, remove 3 cards from your graveyard from the game, put this card into your graveyard back into your hand, so you can sacrifice cards in your graveyard to get this back. So this card combined with that last one, really good cards, and this is a rare, and it's nice that you get 4 of them in this starter deck. So yeah, the last card and this card, really good. The rest of the cards, not so fussed about. Let's see what this next card has to offer me. Okay, this next card then I'm quite liking. It's a 1 cost Shadow. Unfortunately, it'd be nice if it was a zombie, but it isn't. And this says, when a Resonator is put into your graveyard from your opponent's field, rest a opponent's Resonator. So I really like this. It's a little nice chump blocker. I like this card. More of these sort of cards in this Rezzard deck for me. And yeah, I can see that being a nice little card. Now this is a great little card. You get 4 of them. I'm not sure you need 4. But it's a 2 cost card that you can put into your standby area. It's stealth, and basically when a J Resonator you control is attacked, basically you can reveal this card and it does 1000 damage to that attacker. And it's a little 0-100 card. However, the problem is it will actually potentially destroy itself and the person who's attacking it. So I like this card. It's a really nice little card, and again is one of the stronger cards in this deck. Quick word about the stones in this deck. They're okay. I don't particularly like this image. I would probably substitute these cards with the one from the Vingolf set. I think they look much nicer than this. Okay, that was a pretty quick look through the Rezzard deck. I have to say I'm liking this one the least of all the decks I've opened so far. Again, some good cards in there. The Death Scythe, for example, really nice card. The good thing about this deck is you get 4 of pretty much every single card, so that's nice. However, as a deck, I'm not really feeling this. I think Arla and Machina are actually better than this. Now I can see this deck being tweaked to do all sorts of shenanigans and becoming quite powerful, but as it comes out the box, my least favourite deck so far. But then again, I guess dumping loads of stuff in your graveyard to get out some nice sweet cards maybe is worthwhile, but I just don't see the damage potential like you've got in the Machina and the Arla decks. So, yeah, I have to play this one, I think, to see if I change my mind. And I'm sure there are some really cool shenanigans with extra cards being swapped in for the ones that actually come with the deck itself. So anyway, that's the 3rd deck down from the starter set. And just a few more to go.